Hello and welcome to Stop Whining About Real Estate. I am your host, Sarah Birnbaum. With me today is my co-host, Emmanuel St. Germain, and our guest, the bold, the one and only, the real estate trailblazer, the amazing owner and broker of Signature Real Estate Properties, Ben Schachter. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so excited to have you.
Thank you. We're excited, very excited to have Ben here. For many of you who don't know, Ben and our company created a partnership which has been absolutely fantastic. We had started a DBA called Signature Choice Mortgage Group, which has been wildly successful, and super excited to have you on here. Can't wait to hear your story and to enlighten us about some of the things. For those people who don't know, Ben was a pioneer in the buyer-broker agreement, which is something that is going to come into play in July, and it's something that he's been doing for 5 years. So the level of visionary to be doing this 4.5 years before everyone else, or 5 years before everyone else, is just fantastic. I applaud you for it. So we can't wait to hear how the idea came about. But let's start with some personal stuff. Tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate. Why are you passionate about real estate? And let's go from there.
Why I got into real estate? Well, that's actually an easy one because I like girls. And there's a lot more girls in real estate than there are guys.
That's true.
I moved to Florida when I was 15 years old. And I came from New York City, like many Northerners. And Boca Raton was not what it is today back in the early 90s. And I came with a private school education. My parents enrolled me in public school. So needless to say, academics came very easy for me in Florida. And my parents said to me at 15 years old, you better get a part-time job because you're sailing through school, you're barely studying, you're getting out at 2 o'clock and working on your tan all day. So you should probably do something productive to stay out of trouble. And I like girls. So I wanted to make some money, get a part-time job. But I discovered in the 90s in Florida that it was against the law to work legally under the age of 16. I was 15. The only person that would hire me, of course, was a realtor, because realtors never follow the rules. So a realtor hired me for $5 an hour, cash under the table, to telemarket and solicit. This was also before all the do not call lists. And I would just pick up the phone every day after school, and I would solicit appointments and schedule for this agent to get listings. I did that for about 2 years, which was interesting and unexpected. And then I got accepted to the University of Florida, because once you live in paradise, you don't want to leave.
Of course.
And I attended the University of Florida for 4 years. However, I never properly filled out my student housing paperwork when I got accepted, because I'm a highly entitled person, and I felt that I was entitled to housing because I got admitted to school. So I show up to Gainesville at 17 years old, and I'm there about 3 days before class starts because I wanted to get a lay of the land. And I said, so where do I get the keys to my dorm? And they said, well, you have to go to the housing office. And they said, did you register? I said, register for what? And they said, for a dorm. And I said, no, I need to do that today. Class starts in 3 days. That's why I'm here early, to be prepared. And they said, young man, the housing office takes dorm applications up to 1 year in advance. The dorms have been full for this upcoming semester for 6 months already. You're not getting a dorm on campus. So, of course, my parents were very, very disappointed with my lackadaisical, haphazard behavior and my inability to be prepared to apply for housing on time. So they took me to an off-campus real estate office where, unexpectedly, I not only found off-campus apartment housing, but I also got my second job in real estate because there was a sign that said, fill out this application if you need a rental, and fill out this application if you're looking for a part-time job because we're hiring students. And I needed a job. So for 4 years, I worked at that real estate office, from cleaning toilets, answering phones, Windexing smudges off the front windows. Ended up managing that office after 4 years of hard work. And when I finished at 21, I told my parents that I knew exactly what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and it was not going to be using my college degree. They were not happy that I graduated and didn't want to use my degree. I had a bachelor's of science in political science. They said, you've got a BS in BS. What else are you going to be doing with your political science degree? And I said, I'm going to become a realtor.
Really,
Schachters are not realtors. Schachters are lawyers. Schachters are doctors. Schachters have MBAs. So my parents and I did not see eye to eye. As usual, I went and got my real estate license, 21 years old, and that started my professional career in real estate.
That's awesome. I love it on so many different levels. I, too, started working in Maine. It was 14, and I remember washing dishes when I was 13 years old. And I mean, you know me, and for those that don't, work is a big, big passion and hobby of mine. And it's unbelievable how you can really tell from an early age. And as I hear you tell that story, I'm watching someone who is willing to overcome any obstacle, is willing to do whatever it takes to achieve success. And the fact that you found something that you love at such a young age is really remarkable. And, you know, something that I would tell, I was speaking at FAU to these finance students, and I was explaining to them, I was telling, you know, like it's really hard to find something you love. I'm so fortunate. You're fortunate. Sarah's fortunate. She gets to work with me. We're all
Lucky you.
I know. I hit the jackpot.
It's you know, we're extremely fortunate because we love what we do, and you get up, and it's not about. I mean, yes, of course, we all have stress in life, but you get up every single day, and it's not, oh crud, I got to go to an office that I hate and people that I hate being around. So, I think that's awesome that you found that super early on. So, really, really admirable.
I'm one of the few people that can honestly say I've never had a job outside of real estate. Literally, this is usually a second, third, fourth career for most people. Starting at 15, I had a tremendous advantage, a head start over my peers. Typically, people start in real estate in their 40s or 50s, some even in their 60s. I started at 15. So that's 6 years of learning the fundamentals of cold calling and prospecting and preparing documents and staying organized, setting appointments, balancing. That was a great foundation. So when I started at 21, I really was able to accelerate forward quickly because I had that 5-6 years of head start in both high school and college, and it allowed for great opportunity.
Do you credit any singular mentor or individual that you think really brought you or just highlighted different parts of real estate that really got you to that next level?
I give a ton of credit to my business partner, Jack. My business partner, Jack, and I have worked together now for 18 years. And while he wasn't necessarily a mentor at a young age in the teenager, early 20s, he really taught me about the financial operations side of running a big business. Truth be told, I'm not a finance guy. While I like numbers in real estate, spreadsheets, QuickBooks, paying bills, that's not my thing, nothing I have interest in. One of the reasons we don't have an escrow account. I have no interest in it whatsoever. Jack's a CPA. He is nothing but a numbers guy. He's brilliant. And he showed me the importance of managing your finances sensibly, making good business decisions from a fiscal point of view. And I give him a ton of credit for that because he's able to balance out what I bring to the table, my strengths, salesmanship, marketing, personality. He's really able to bring the back office strength, fiscal discipline, and accountability to the conversation. And that means a lot to me, and I'm grateful for him for that.
It's great.
I think about you in college and doing kind of the same thing that you're doing now and starting in real estate really early. Would you say that the Ben Schachter of 21, 22 in real estate and doing what he was doing had the same boldness and kind of forward thinking and the confidence that Ben has now?
I've always been an aggressive person and somewhat forward thinking, but I didn't really get a vision in this business until I started working with other real estate agents. When I was working in ops, both in high school and college, I was working in a small little niche of my office. But when I became a practicing agent and transacting business with other agents, and I realized, number one, that a lot of them need further education. There's a lot of ineptitude in our industry. But number two, a lot of them don't have support from the leadership teams behind them. I recognized there was a big gap. And I always promised myself that when the time would come that I would open up my own shop, supporting agents and educating agents and providing them with tools and resources was something that I would really focus heavily on, which I still do to this day. So I really learned through trial and error, working with others, what it's like not to be supported or not to have the right information to make good decisions. I can't take credit for being this great visionary with the buyer-broker agreement 5 years before everyone else. You said in your opening monologue that you want to hear how that began, and it's actually really interesting. I've worked with agents for more than 20 years, and I care deeply for my agents. I really have a passion for people. And as part of that passion, I'm always involved in their transactions, helping them any way I can. And the concept of the buyer-broker agreement came to pass when enough was enough. When did that hit me? That hit me when I was working with a realtor in our company who was a single mom, doing everything right, taking care of her child, busting her tail to show properties, list properties, doing it ethically, responsibly, balancing that single parent obligation of both home life and professional life. And she was working with a customer that she had spent several weekends showing properties to, 5, 6 different weekends. She'd shown them 40, 50, 60 houses. And she said to her customers, next weekend, I'm unavailable on Saturday to show you properties because my child is in a recital. And I'm a single mom, I need to be at my child's recital. So I can't take you out on Saturday. And they said they understood that. Well, wouldn't you know it? These people, after dozens of hours of hard work and all those showings and doing everything properly, decided to go out with another realtor on that Saturday when she had to choose to take care of her child, which is the right thing to do. They had no respect for her saying, I can't work with you on Saturday. Sunday, I can help you. And the last 5 Saturdays, I've helped you. And next Saturday, but this Saturday, I can't. And I said, this is unacceptable. Yeah. And I thought to myself, why was I told as a kid in real estate, you have to list to last? You have to list to last in this business because you sign a listing contract with a seller or a landlord. You're not guaranteed anything, but you're as close to guaranteed as possible when you have a listing that you're going to get paid because you're signing a contract, it's an exclusive, and no matter where that buyer or tenant comes from, you're compensated as a listing agent because you have a listing agreement while it goes under contract. So I said, why is it that we list to last by signing contracts because we want to have that contractual relationship with a seller or landlord, but with buyers and tenants, we work on a handshake? It made no sense. I would actually argue that it was discriminatory. We discriminated against sellers, requiring them to sign contracts, but no discrimination for buyers. We'll do whatever you want on a handshake. Unacceptable. So I leveled the playing field. I wrote the first buyer-broker agreement here in Florida that was legally enforceable and upheld, and I began training on it. And it was all because that one mother got her heart ripped out of her financially. Unacceptable. So that's kind of the start of the genesis of the conversation.
I mean, listen, it makes a lot of sense. In our side of the industry, that's not an option. Companies like Rocket Mortgage used to do an application where they would charge $500, and then the business got so competitive that they had to stop that practice. I think on our end, the only thing we really do is, for me, until I get some sort of participation, meaning once an application has been done and I require or request the documents, I should say, and that way we get participation. But it's true. It can happen on our side of the industry. It's not nearly as bad, I would think, because once somebody has shared all of their personal information, your income, we get a deep dive look into your personal history. And I think a lot of people don't really want lots of individuals knowing that. So it precludes them from shopping with 10 different people. But it's still very frustrating even on our end when you work really, really hard and somebody says, we're decided to go with some other bank it's $250 less in closing costs. Meanwhile, you're like, really? You don't value my experience, my time, more than $250. So, but it is what it is. But I do think for those other companies, unlike the signature agents who haven't been using a buyer-broker agreement, although I think it's going to force some difficult conversations, and I think those difficult conversations are going to force some agents out who are of the industry completely, or they'll keep their license as a referring agent, is my personal opinion. I'm very excited for a lot of agents who will get some loyalty, finally, who aren't used to it. It's so frustrating spending all that time working with someone and then, it will make the consumer have to think twice about who you hire.
It's going to raise the bar of professionalism. And one of the reasons the real estate industry is in the position today that we are in is because professionalism has deteriorated in our business. It's unbelievable. People don't operate in real estate today like they did 20 years ago, let alone 50 years ago. And the consumers have gotten fed up with it. And that's one of the catalysts for this global lawsuit that has shaken the industry. So I'm actually pleased that it's going to sanitize the industry of a number of the non-producing agents.
Good choice of words.
I was just going to say that. That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah, say take out the trash. And
there we go.
And we have to. And that's the reality because the people that are unprofessional, people that are not disciplined, people that are not business people, the people that are not salespeople, they need to go. Real estate is going to continue. People will still buy houses. People will still sell houses. People will still borrow money from Emmanuel and Sarah and their company, and people will still buy houses and list with companies like mine. But the salient concept here is the fact that fundamentally our business is changing in how we're compensated, not if we're doing our job properly. So we will still do our job. We will do it at a higher level, more ethically, more responsibly, more professionally than ever before. We may just get paid differently than what we are accustomed to under this new normal of this buyer brokerage concept and sellers shifting some of their commission compensation over to the buyer side of the table. People that are not cut out for this business shouldn't be in it. And for those of us like myself and my agents, we are, and we want to pick up the pieces of all the business being left on the table by those that are leaving the industry that should leave the industry.
So, tough question. Do you think there will be, in any kind of change, there's opportunities? Do you feel that there are going to be companies that will try to eliminate the buying agent model by whether it's attorneys offering to write contract? I don't know what they're going to do, but how successful do you think that type of agent will be versus an agent who's able to sit down, give their value prop, and I'll give you an example. One of the things I don't like, and I've made comments about this before, I don't like when an agent writes out the 80 things that are part of an agent list. The reason I don't like it is because I find it trivializes the really important things that I need you for. I don't need you for 80 things. Why am I congratulating you because you set an appointment? Okay, that's, we all have normal day-to-day functions, but there's a reason that I'm hiring Ben Schachter to help me with a transaction. It's not for those 78 trivial. It's those two things that make you a superstar, that make you worth what you're worth.
The differentiators in this business, I think, come down to three things. Responsiveness and availability, very, very important. Negotiation skills and industry knowledge, knowing your market. I think those three things are what consumers are shopping for. Who's going to help me get the best price for my property as a buyer, negotiating the terms that are going to help me make this purchase a reality? Mm-hmm. Who's going to help me find the right home? Maybe they know about off-market properties. Perhaps they know more about school districts or neighborhoods or up-and-coming communities. Who has that availability of wisdom? And who's going to respond to my call and be available when I didn't be available? Setting expectations. Yes, you're right. The 80 things that people do, that's just life, right? And that's what we all have to do. Every one of us has jobs to do, and we all have responsibilities, but I think those are the differentiators. And the person that has industry knowledge and expertise, the person that's responsive and available, and the person that is a ferocious negotiator is going to always be the winner in this business. And there's not many of us out there that have those three skills really locked up. And that's what we focus on with our agents and our team to really concentrate on, because when you have those skills, you rise so far ahead above the rest of the pack, and that's where you really set yourself apart and make your living.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that not to diss on the people that are placing the 80 things on the computer or Facebook or whatever to say that this is all the stuff that they do. But the people that do have those three skills that you just mentioned are not talking about all the other things that they can offer, because they know that they're strong where they need to be strong and where it matters. And their client base knows that. And that's why they get referrals. And that's why their phone is ringing without them doing a lot of the, chasing, because they're the trusted industry expert. And that's what kind of makes them stand out. It's the same in our industry. And I think that those three things will make buyer's agents really strong and stay. And I think listing agents the same. I think that people that are common folk, and I'm including myself in that because, my world is not being an agent and it's not being a loan officer. We want somebody to guide us, right? We want somebody to be the expert. We want somebody to guide us. We want them to tell us it's a good idea or a bad idea. And I think the people that have those three things are really going to kind of stand above, and everybody's going to flock to that because they're going to want to cling to that, because they're going to say, well, all of this change is fine, but this person knows what they're doing. What do we need to do to make this happen? So.
Absolutely. And, there's a lot flying around in social media, misconceptions or false pretenses about what's changing in the industry right now. So it's really important that people stay in tune, that they listen to smart people in the business that are studying the changes, that are reading the settlement agreements, that are listening to the legal updates, that are following along with both the news articles and can ingest that information, process it, and try to simplify it. Everyone's looking for a Cliff Notes version of, so what's happening in the industry? There's a million different things happening in our industry. And we can have that conversation as well. But it's very, very important that agents stay in tune, because as the industry tightens, as commission payments shift or perhaps constrict a little bit, it will leave some people out of this industry that we're expecting to be here. It's also really important, I would encourage agents to have a really, really solid, trusted group of advisors. And this may seem like a shameless plug for you and your team at Signature Choice Mortgage.
Keep going.
But the reality is, while I might be the quarterback of my real estate transaction, I need solid receivers. I need an excellent line. I need some killer running backs. And if I don't have that, I might have the best passing arm and the greatest accuracy in the league, but no one's going to see that I'm the Tom Brady of real estate. And I would tell you without question that by having you on my line to pre-qualify customers, to get into the depths of their financial health and discuss what loan options they have available and what to be prepared for, that means the world to me. And that should mean the world to any agent. And the same goes to your title partner, and the same goes to your insurance partner and whatnot. And it really is game-changing, because if you don't have the right trusted group of advisors around you, one misstep could untangle the entire transaction. You know, we've all seen Super Bowls change in the fourth quarter because of an interception or because a lineman missed his blocking assignment. And you can't let that happen in real estate. We have to not forget that for you and I, this is what we do for our careers. We sell houses, we finance houses. It's no big deal. We love what we do, but it's no big deal. Dozens per day. But to that one person who's buying a home or that one person that's selling a home, this is undoubtedly the largest single transaction they've ever done in their life, except maybe if they have a yacht or except maybe if they have a boat. This is probably it. And they have to feel that the realtor teamed up with the right mortgage person, with the right title person, with the right insurance person, with the right home inspector. They have to feel that their team that's on the field is going to get the job done. Because I look at them really like they're the coach on the sideline, and really the decisions are made not on the sideline, the decisions are made in the huddle. But the coach has to feel confident with his players on the team. And I couldn't be more proud than to wear the same jersey as you guys.
Well, thank you. And likewise. And I'm smiling because I'm not the one who came up with the Boston analogy, Boston sports analogy, which is something I often do when we're speaking with our loan officers or in our company. You know, it's funny, and we have a partnership with a builder, and, you know, one of the things he told me, which was interesting, he goes, Emmanuel, the no's are just as important as the yeses. You know, the last thing I need is to build a house and not be able to, you know, I built a house out to your specs that you wanted, Mr. Buyer, and all of a sudden now they don't qualify. That's incredibly expensive to sell, because typically now you've got to sell it at a discount. And, you know, it is that it's the concept of being proactive. It's the concept of doing all of those things that, again, in a partnership where we're helping one another make sure that we get to the finish line. None of us get paid unless we go to the finish line, and none of us get referrals unless we give that client a great experience. And I think that's obviously, you know, what we both strive for. So
I think just to kind of go on to that point, because we deal with so many transactions, because, you know, it's a pipeline and it's transactions and it's very, for us, transactional. For you guys, agents have multiple buyers, multiple sellers that are doing the same thing every day. And then once that closes, they go on to the next one. But I always tell our team, you know, the person on the other side of that phone, that buyer, is holding on to every single word that you say. And they're really going by what is going on day to day with their loan, with their finances, because at the end of that, they're hopefully getting these set of keys to their new home. And that's everything that they're thinking about. They're talking to it on the phone with their parents, with their sister, with their friends. It's consuming their whole entire life because it's a huge decision. And so, you know, I think we can get easily caught up in the day-to-day of it being so transactional. But I always remind everybody on our team, for sure, is we have to make sure that we're always humanizing it. We're always keeping it so human, because the other person, this is not something that they do every day. This is something that they do maybe do once, twice, 3 times in a life. And they're counting on us to get us there. And so keeping that piece forward is very important, because I think it makes that person feel like their transaction, though it might be that, is very important to the person that they're working with, the agent or the loan officer, and they feel value in that. And that's what they're going to talk about, and that's what they're going to tell their friends about, and that's how you're going to get those referrals, is making that person feel really good.
We're saying the term transaction on here, but I much prefer when we say, and we try to do this in all of our meetings, is say family served. How many families did we serve this past month? And I think it is, to your point, Sarah, it's all about humanizing and making sure that, and this is a great lesson for any agents or loan officers that are listening. It's in a time of need is when you have your greatest strength or your greatest leverage, if you want to call it that. One of the things that I've found that I've learned through the coaching that I receive, that I find that a lot of agents don't do, and the advice I would give is you don't have to wait to ask for referrals until you have completed the transaction, right? It is the second that you just have to have a system. Our system is really simple. When we do our weekly calls to make sure that we are communicating with everyone, we are laying the foundation, the groundwork, planting those seeds to make sure. And we certainly expect on the first phone call that you don't, oh yeah, I had somebody ready to go. But if you start to ask every week and you say it in a nonchalant way that's not pressure style, I think it's a really great opportunity. And I wish more agents would have confidence in themselves to feel that they have delivered enough value early on, week by week by week, until we get to closing, not just waiting until, hey, it's closing day. By the way, here's your closing gift. Oh, who do you know? Do you have any family members I can help? I'm always here for you. And that's not a strategy. You're not asking it. We have a specific talk track that we use when we're asking for referrals. And I just think there's a much better way to do it.
I agree, and I think that does touch back on my point that there's a lot of people in the real estate industry that are not great at their job. They're not salespeople. And I'd like to dispel that myth for everybody. This is a sales position. Emmanuel's in a sales position selling mortgages. I'm in a sales position selling houses. Plain and simple. We are consultants. We are friendly. We're helpful. We're knowledgeable. We're experts in our trade. But we are selling a product. He sells money. I sell real estate. And you're born with salesmanship skills, and you can refine them. But if you are not born with salesmanship, it's very hard to learn the basics. And you have to have enough self-awareness and confidence in yourself, as you've mentioned, to ask for referrals along the way. I always ask my own agents, because my customers in my industry are actually my real estate agents. Your customers, of course, are the consumers traditionally who borrow money from you. My customers traditionally are the real estate agents, and they're my best source of income, not just selling houses, but if I'm providing great service to them in terms of broker support and knowledge and education and technology tools, then they're going to refer me out. And I don't treat it as passive. I don't wait for my phone to ring. I proactively contact my agents to say, who are you dealing with in the business? What other real estate agents are you transacting with that you'd like me to speak to? You think should be part of what Signature has to offer? And, we're very blessed, knock on wood, 1,000,000 times. We've got over 1,400 agents in the company. And I don't think I've spent $50,000 over the course of the last 18 years advertising for hiring. I don't think I've hit $50,000 total over 18 years.
Awesome.
We probably spend, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year at the most doing some brand management advertising for recruiting. All of our recruits come from agents being super happy with our company. And I also do exits, right? Not everyone's going to be happy. I can't bat 1,000, but if I could bat 900, I'm real happy.
Yeah.
If someone's unhappy for some reason, if a customer didn't get the service that we guarantee or expect, I would imagine the same in your business, how can we do better? Those are the most important conversations to have, because you never want to make those mistakes. Learn from them, own them, say I'm sorry, fix the problem. Don't sweep it under the rug and pretend like it didn't happen. None of us are perfect. There's always room for improvement, and never rest on your laurels. I know you work your tail off. You're the first one in the office, the last one to leave. And I'm the same way, and I would expect that from anybody in business who really wants to succeed. You have a choice. You can tolerate failure, you can tolerate mediocrity, or you can strive for success. And the three of us, I think, are all type A's, and we're striving for success every single day. And mediocrity sucks.
Yeah.
Gets in the way.
Speaking of exit, so funny story for you.
Oh boy.
This is a little life lesson for anybody who ever wants to leave a job. I got a reference call today, and that's somebody down in Miami, and I'm like, okay, what was the name? And I had to go ask Jared, who's my business partner, say, who was this person again? And I was like, oh, did she give us 2 weeks notice when she left? And she goes, nope. And I go, oh, okay. I remember who this is. So then I called, when I called the reference back, I just say, hey, I just want you to know this person left without giving me 2 weeks. We're not always going to be a perfect fit for someone, but if you don't exit properly, I will not give you a good referral. And I told the person specifically I would never hire this person ever again if she had begged me for a job. And it just life little lesson, in terms of being an employee. And I love all you see all the TikToks and everything, like literally hard work is the number one thing. I'm well known for despising entitlement and an entitlement type attitude. And so for me, just come in, work your butt off. And I love helping people who want to help themselves and who work really hard. But you asked me for a reference after you leave without any, without doing it in 2 weeks.
So
I'm not your buddy.
So you didn't like that I was entitled going to college, expecting a dorm room to be waiting for me?
You were young.
So it's not, well, no.
Who's 17?
There's a difference between being 17 and being entitled. Like there's life lessons. But the beauty of it is that the adaptability, and I love that your parents, they held you to it, but and I don't know your family finances or things like that. But the point is that you still went and took a job with it. So it wasn't, all right, a mistake was made, a problem is solved. By the way, I also got a job out of it, and so you adapt. I mean, that's what we have to do. We got to be able to pivot.
So my parents have passed, but they were very, very influential and positive in my life. When they gave me hell for going into real estate at 21 years of age, because of course there's no salary, there's no benefits, everyone's a 1099. It was really amusing later in life because 15 years later, when they had, thankfully, because their health was good at that time, they had outlived their savings. Both my mom and my dad came to work for me in the real estate company so I could help support them. And there was actually an awesome front page real estate section article in the Palm Beach Post that you can look up, something about real estate agents' parents degrade him from being a real estate agent, flips the table, they end up working for him. So it was a very, very funny article that I'm sure your audience will find humor in.
Well, the irony is my dad's out here and we had a little recruiting call. It actually, and because you went through it, it is really, I don't know that it gets any more satisfying than it's almost like, forget money, forget that type of stuff, but from feeling good about your accomplishments, the sheer fact that you're able to employ your parents, it's an evolution there where, you always think that a parent's going to take care and when that role gets flipped and all of a sudden, you know more than the teacher. And now the teacher needs you. It's something that's that you should be proud of. And as soon as the guy signs on the white dotted line, we'll be proud of on our side too. So
I think also from a parent standpoint, that's got to be a proud moment. Is to have a kid that has grown up and become successful and in their own space and happy, and you can lean on them at that point. Like I think that's a stamp of like I did a pretty good job at this.
My mom will have to work in your department, Sarah, because her and I will butt heads a little too much.
I'll take her all day long.
I've got 3 little ones and an incredible wife. Jody and I have been married for coming up on 16 years in May. Max, thank you. Max is 14. My daughter Sloan in the middle, she's 12. And little guy Brody is 9. And 7 years ago, speaking of a shining moment for a parent, it was also a little embarrassing. 7 years ago, Max was in the office and 2 things happened. And I think this will entertain your guests. I had him in the office he was off of school one day, and I said to one of my colleagues, I said, I've got to run out for an appointment unexpectedly. Can you keep an eye on Max? I'll be back in an hour. And Max was in the office all the time. There's no problem. And she said, of course, no problem. So I left the office, and I came back to this story when I returned an hour later. She says to me, about 30 minutes after you left, Max asked for a piece of paper. And I said, oh, great, let's draw pictures. And he said, I don't want to draw a picture. He said, I just need some paper, please. And she said, do you want to, color? And he said, no, I just would like some paper, please. So she gave him a piece of paper. And then he goes, do you have anything to write with? And she goes, you don't have a backpack? Do you have homework or anything? He said, no, I just would like a pen, please. So she gave him a pen. Max proceeded to walk all around the office with his piece of paper and pen. And he was drawing or writing. He was doing something with the paper. She couldn't tell what. And he walked around the whole office for several minutes and then came back to her and he said, okay, thank you. And she said, Max, what were you writing down? What were you doing when you walked through the office? And he said, oh, nothing. And she said, no, I'm curious. What were you doing? He said, well, let me ask you a question. He said, what time does the office close? Oh, you must miss your daddy. Are you writing him a letter? He said, no, I just asked you what time the office closes. I promise I'll call your dad. He'll be back soon. I just would like to know what time the office closes, please.
I so know where this is going.
The office closes at 5 o'clock. And he said, I thought so. He said, I went and wrote down the name of everyone who left early. And gave it to my dad.
It's like a
Well, if he doesn't want to be in real estate, he can come work with me.
He's hired.
He handed me a list of the name of every employee on the door, just like in your office, of everyone who left when I wasn't there.
That's amazing.
Before 5 o'clock.
Love it.
I was
Love
in heaven. I was cavelling.
You're like, you can
I was
miss
so
school
proud.
every day and
Do
come
any of
here.
the kids want to get into real estate?
I could see that as a possibility. I suspect.
Do you push it or do you?
No, I want my kids to do whatever makes them happy. But unlike some parents that say just be happy, 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 I'm realistic. It's 2024.
Yeah.
You can't only be happy. You do have to make a living. In fact, the kids that only want to be happy usually aren't very happy pretty soon after they're trying to strive for happiness. You have to find somewhere between happiness and making a living.
Yeah.
And I think you're actually doing your children a disservice by saying just be happy, happy, happy. Yes, we want to enjoy our jobs so you never work a day in your life. We understand that old shtick, but you do have to find something that makes good sense. But my kids are disciplined. They have allowance. They know they have budgets of what they're allowed to buy and not buy. I don't let them run wild financially. And they're good kids. I'm really, really lucky. My daughter is more my personality. My youngest, my son, is my spitting clone in terms of personality. Max, the older one, he's the more analytical one. He's the rule follower. He's going to report everyone for being late. Not a salesman, but very disciplined and organized.
He's your Jack.
Yeah, exactly. So it's great. Fortunately, I've got an incredible situation at home. My wife takes care of the kids when I work, and it's a great balance because we have an understanding in terms of our relationship. It's a serious best friendship and a best love affair I could hope for. But I work like an animal, and I do that so I can support and provide well for my family.
It's great.
Speaking of working like an animal, I know that you do a lot of things. Like the agents, you do probably 150 things every single day being a broker owner. What are the 3 most favorite things about your job?
Number 1. Oh, my job? I was going to thought you were my life. Okay, so I was ready to answer that
We'll do life
question.
next.
Okay, so 3 most favorite things about my job. I love seeing an agent sell their first property.
Okay.
Because that is such a milestone. It's not your 100th property or your 1,000th property or your first $10 million property. It's the first transaction. Such a milestone. So lucky for us, we hire a lot of new agents, so I do see that frequently happen in
That's
our
awesome.
company. I love that aspect of my business. Second thing that I probably will tell you I like the most, I love our Monday mornings. Our Monday mornings are like cathartic for me because we have something which you're familiar with, the Monday morning meeting.
Yeah.
I've got 10 minutes, 8:50 a.m. to 9 a.m.
And you are
to
punctual.
tell everything that I possibly have to tell the agents so they know exactly what we've accomplished last week, what's on tap for this week, kind of a news update on the industry and our company, special announcements about really spectacular accomplishments. And that is a great way to motivate, kick off the week, get everyone started. And my third favorite thing about my job, I would have to say, is the testimonials I get from customers who are just enamored with how happy they are with our agents.
That's awesome.
We do have a testimonial link on our homepage where we encourage customer testimonials. And hearing how happy they are, I know I've done a good job making my agents happy. And that to me means the world. Those are probably my 3 favorite things.
I love that.
Let's get you to whine a little bit,
Okay.
since the name of this podcast is Stop Whining, and I don't think either of us are drinking alcohol today, but the name is Stop Whining. So let's give us 3 things that are complaints. Let's go about the role of being CEO of a company rather than per se, the specifics of your, I don't want your people or anything like that. Just the role of being a CEO of a company. What are the 3 most difficult challenges or things that you want to whine about?
I am by nature a giver. I give way more than I should, probably to people that don't deserve it. And I'm okay with that. I acknowledge it. I recognize it. I see what it is. And if I had to pick one wine, because we don't have a fixed commission structure at Signature, which I think is paramount, everyone gets paid what they deserve, not one size fits all. Okay. You're more experienced, you're more productive, you've been in the business longer, you speak multiple languages, you have a bigger network. There's a million metrics we can use. You get paid what you deserve, which is normal for the rest of civilized society. It's abnormal for real estate. Everyone in real estate, whatever company you join, we all get paid the same thing, which is illogical. How do you take someone who makes $1 million a year and been in business 30 years and pay them the same as someone who makes $12,000 a year and been in the business for 2 weeks? Yeah. It's bananas. So wine specifically, when agents come to see me asking for a raise because probably they financially need it or they think they deserve it, and they absolutely don't deserve it. And this is not open for debate. I haven't sold a house in a year. I'm getting backed on my bills. Can I have a raise? It's so ridiculous. Or I know my business has been cut in half from 2 years ago and my big year was 2 years ago. Can I just have a raise? Why? Because I'd like someone to pay for my lack of income and I'd like you to do it. It's bananas and it's troublesome for me and I have a very hard time saying no. I'm not a good no person. I'm much more of a yes person. And that's really frustrating to me. And I think it's ballsy of the agents to even ask. That's a tough one. Number two, as an employer, I rely heavily on my management team, and I love them dearly, and I give them tremendous latitude. I don't like if I ever feel like someone's taking advantage of me. And as an employer, I'm sure you can feel the same. If you feel like someone is taking advantage of you, whether it's cutting out early, coming in late, taking unnecessary vacation time that they're not entitled to, not answering their phone, not answering an email, that is very grinding and very irritating because I go above and beyond. We have 4 Christmas parties. Everyone gets bonuses and holiday bonuses and a crazy amount of paid vacation. That is frustrating. And the last thing I'd say I would whine about is an agent specifically doing something perhaps incorrect and then trying to hide it. Mm-hmm. We can fix any problem if you just square up with me and tell me what it is. I make mistakes every day, not just weekly and monthly. Daily I make mistakes, and I own them and I fix them. If you just sweep it under the rug and don't address it, it will always fester and grow into a big cancer, whatever the problem is. So those are the issues that I find most taxing, and I've grown accustomed to them. But I will tell you unequivocally that all the good things I do and the things I love about my job vastly outshadow the few pain points that I have.
Well said. All right, Sarah, what do you think my top 3 are?
Oh, boy.
Probably similar to mine.
Very similar. So I would say your biggest pet peeve, and I think it's more of a personality trait and then people take advantage of it, is that sense of entitlement and kind of just taking advantage of you. You are also a giver. You're also very generous. You're generous with your time, with everything. You go above and beyond for all of us here. And when somebody kind of treats it as though they deserve it, shouldn't work that hard, but are always going to lean on you, waste your time because they need access to you, but then they don't follow through with what they said they were going to do, I think that's probably one of your pet peeves.
Okay. That was like 4 in 1.
Well, it's a big one for him. I think one of his lighter pet peeves, because Emmanuel does work so hard and is here first and last, he does not love it when people take an obscene amount of vacation, because he does feel like work should be very important and we should all be here working hard to sail the ship.
It's not that people take vacation.
Here we go.
It's that it seems like these vacations are always back to back. They're so close together. And I'm like, I'm not involved in any of the day-to-day operations of running the company that way. And so I don't look at, when someone has time off, when they don't. I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't she just on vacation? And she's like, yeah, that was 3-4 months ago. I'm like, it feels like it was soon.
Yesterday, yes.
And because there's also a lot of banking holidays, right? So I'm like, between all of it, but
do you get the?
It's more of a tease because I do.
Absolutely.
I do. it's kind of like a soft little jab because I do want people to take vacation. They come back happier, hungrier. You've got to have that
balance.
Well, it's not just balance, but when you come for me to get the most out of an employee in terms of how they treat our clients and our referral partners, I do need employees to be super happy. So although I tease you guys about it, I do want you to take vacations.
You heard it here.
We're going to save this podcast for posterity that runs it.
I don't know. Do you have any more?
No. I mean, I've mentioned it before. I think that, one of the challenges that a high performer will always have is trying to determine what is the highest performance I can get out of you or any other employee, knowing that you're not me. You're not, you're in a different position. And whether it be family, whether it be, like we all have different things going on in our lives. And there's a difference. It's something I learned very early on in that I said, I couldn't believe it. We had this Spanish guy that was working for us. He was the only Spanish loan officer in our entire company. At the time, we had like 80, 90 people. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, how are you not absolutely crushing it? Every day I'd be walking around the entire office. I mean, we're in South Florida, plenty of Spanish loans. I'm like, why don't you just walk around and ask every single person, hey, do you have somebody? Hey, do you have somebody? And like, if you literally did that, you'd pick up 2 or 3 loans a week. And I remember, and he said, obviously I won't say his name, but I remember that somebody else had older and wiser told me, he goes, Emmanuel, he wouldn't be working for you if he were you. And he just doesn't have that grind. And that's, if you go into it thinking the expectation that he has your potential, you're wrong. You have to flip it and say, what is his potential? And your job is to get the most out of him that he is capable of, not what you are capable of. And I thought that was a really valuable lesson. Now, that doesn't mean I still don't get frustrated when I see people underperform. Because I do feel that no matter what you think, Sarah, I push you very hard. But because I believe that there is obviously I don't want to hit anybody's breaking point. That's certainly not conducive. That's not good for our relationship, and that's not good for anything. But I do believe that when you push someone, you do have the ability to get the best out of them. And oftentimes people won't get out of their comfort zone, but if you can just break through and just get into that comfort zone, not so much that you're going to crumble, but just enough to get through, and you realize, and when you accomplish that feat that you thought was impossible, all of a sudden your confidence levels goes through the roof. And now all of a sudden they have become such a better human, a better employee, better teammate, whatever it is. So I do like pushing people. Obviously, it's not because I'm trying to be difficult on someone. It's simply because I push myself. I mean, you're welcome to push me, but I don't need to be pushed. I have that internal mechanism that says, hey, there's constantly like, what'd you do today to get better? What did you do, And so I just try to push a little bit, and maybe I push a little too much, but it's all with good intentions.
I will tell you, and maybe this is CEO masterminding, where I have been able to harness some of those issues, is that its signature, we have lots of subsidiary brokerages, and we have 12.5 super entrepreneurial, highly talented, strong broker, manager, capable people in our company. And when I see that in somebody, and I witness that myself, we move them up from being an associate, whether they're a sales associate or broker associate, to becoming a managing broker. And we have all these different subsidiary net branches, if you will, similar to a franchise, but we're not a franchise model, where we co-broke a company together. And that's why it's the signature real estate companies, because out of over 1,000 people, there's 12.5 that are just superstars, home run hitters, and they, in my opinion, deserve to rise to the occasion and reap the rewards and the benefits, both from the support of their agents, the financial benefits, and so forth. And if you find those key strategic players, create those opportunities for them. They're hard to come by. They're hard to come by. I'm at 1.5% of my company. Right? That means 98.5% are not there.
Right.
But when you find them, you want to hold on to them.
I actually had, this is a great question, because one of the ideas that I had, so growth in my world right now, there's a lot of mergers going on. And we've had a tremendous amount of contraction. Owning a mortgage company the last year and a half has not been fun. And there are challenges that we go through. And some of that is what's happening is you're getting a lot of companies that are trying to merge, trying to find ways to consolidate some of that volume. And so we can have efficiencies in our our expenditures and our salaries and things like that. And so one of the ideas I had was trying to figure out, and one of the ways that I know you grew your company is you've done a lot of these different partnerships with these different brokerages, and you've given your value prop and stuff like that. What would you give me as advice? Because one of the things that I try to do is going after some smaller mortgage companies, adding some value, but understanding that when you speak, forget the title CEO, but owner to owner, there's an ego in play. And if you approach an owner, just like if somebody bigger than us approaches me and says, "Come work for me," you're better than we're bigger than you are. Okay, screw you. Like, I don't care how big you are. Yeah, I don't care how big you are or not big. Like, that's not, you'd have to give me a tremendous value prop, and then maybe I'd be open to it. But the point is, you don't come in with this, again, the entitlement that you're bigger, that you get something. So what are some suggestions that you would say in terms of approaching other individuals that have a higher ego and getting them to see that there is a better opportunity together, we're better together than we are apart?
I had that conversation with someone with a big ego 7 years ago, and could have helped that person really thrive and succeed and grow their business and make a ton more money than they were making. And because of the ego, they're out of business and gone now. So knowing your players is super important. My advice to you is having that conversation. It's important to make sure they understand that they're still going to have their name on the door, so to speak, which is why we set up these different brands. That is very important to people, having their name on the door as the managing director, as the chairman, as the CEO. I'll give you any title you want. Any title you want, as long as the financials make good sense. So I'll be the first to admit, one of my downfalls, I do have a monstrous ego. I'm very candid about that. I don't hold back, and it's well known in the industry. But when I'm negotiating with other CEOs, I will take whatever back seat because I want to focus on the checkbook. What's going to bring the most revenue into the relationship? And if I can back the ego out of the conversation and focus on the checkbook by consolidating those expenses, showing the efficiencies, adding fuel to their fire, it's got to be about them, not about you. You've got to make the conversation about them. What do you need to help you achieve your goals? And are you on track to reach your goals? And how fast do you think you'll reach them under your current trajectory? And how much faster could you reach them with the fuel that we can bring to your fire? You've got to make the conversation about that person. And I can't speak to the mortgage regulatory industry conditions, but we have a lot of latitude within real estate with these multiple brokerage situations that I don't know why the rest of the world isn't doing what I'm doing. It's highly lucrative and successful. And I'm very public about it. I talk about it. It's on my website. I podcast about it. I don't know why other brokers aren't learning from me to do this. But we set up these other companies, and it's been a wonderful marriage. For myself and my broker partners, you need to dig into what their pain points are and make sure you have an ironclad solution. And maybe my pain point is my marketing. Maybe my pain point is my processor. Maybe it's my underwriter. Maybe it's where I'm appointed to, what banks and what lenders will fund through me. Whatever their pain point is, that's what you have to focus on. And there also has to be synergies in terms of culture. I didn't understand that when I was a baby broker, but now that I'm the ripe old age of 45, I understand that much better. If there's not a cultural fit between yourself and the other person you're looking to team up with, partner with, have a business relationship with, I don't care how much money's coming through the door, it's not going to be long-lasting. The culture fit is important. In some respects, it's more important than the money fit. Because if you don't see eye to eye in the culture of the relationship and the business and how you approach the business, the money will probably never come. And even if it does, it's not going to feel good cashing those checks. So I try to have a candid conversation. I try to take the ego out of it by making the conversation about them, find out what they need, if I can be of help, try to be a resource. And at the end of the day, I ask the simple question, do you think if you stay on this path, whatever your 10-year goal is, you're going to hit it? And I think you'll find today more than ever, people don't have the same optimism in their American dream today that they did 10 or 20 years ago. And they all started their business or their company with some vision of what that exit would look like. And people are really concerned today. Will I get there? I mean, I use the Publix cashier checkout experience as a great illustration. It pains me how many 70 and 80-year-old guys I see carrying the bags out of Publix. I'll be damned before I let an 80-year-old guy carry my groceries out. I'll give him a tip to stay in the store and pack someone else's groceries. They're not supposed to accept tips. That's a function of people not having, in most cases, the right exit strategy for their careers or their lives. Now, of course, some people do it because they just want to get out of their house and not get a divorce and slash their wife's throat. I understand that. But most of them, that's not why they're bagging groceries at Publix.
My mom's talking to me about retiring, and I'm like, Ma, you're 65 years old.
She's going to come work with me.
I'm like, no. I'm like, you don't realize how much money it takes to retire today. Right. I'm like, you need a lot more. And I told her, I'm not writing any checks. No, I'm just kidding.
You can hire her like I did. I can teach you how to hire your parents.
One last question I want to get out there too. So in order to, when we created our partnership, there was a vetting process.
Oh boy.
And this is, but it's important because for people who don't know, you vetted 37 different mortgage companies before you chose us. And if you would share just a smidge of why you chose us over the other 36 different companies.
There's several reasons, but to our viewers' right and to my left is probably the top reason. Sarah is the quintessential relationship manager. She can be the business development director. She can be the chief cook and bottle washer. She can be whatever you want, but she's a relationship person. And what I've learned in this business, which I mentioned earlier, is the importance of your trusted group of advisors. It's not about who has the lowest interest rate or who has the highest LTV or who's appointed with the most lenders. It's who's going to manage the relationship. And I'm a big relationship person. Sarah was introduced to me through another dear friend who many of us know, Eliana Black. And she captivated me with her attention to being sensitive to my needs as a real estate professional to close more transactions. It wasn't about we have the best rates, we have the fastest turn time, and maybe they do have the best rates, maybe they do have the fastest turn time. So what do you need to make your business better, and how can I help? And she's hyper-focused on that. And I love that she's not a loan officer, because that's what interested me first in your company. So she opened the door. She was the gateway. Then I met you and Jared.
She's also the closer, but yes.
Perhaps.
Thank you.
But then I met you and Jared and the rest of your team. And you really carried true on the picture that she painted. She put you all up on a high pedestal, your entire operation, your team, your business morale, your business ethics, your charisma, your focus on customer service, and that's what I focused on. I also told you I was not looking at the relationship as how I was going to be the wealthiest and make the most money from a business relationship. Money will come, but the relationship has to be key. That's part of that culture. Mm-hmm. That's part of that hyper-focused concentration on being a people business. And I see that in you. I see that how you treat your customers, how you generate referrals. I know you do a modest amount of advertising like me. Most of your business is through spoiling the heck out of your past customers to generate more referrals, and building on those blocks of relationship. Business that's earned through relationships is so much more valuable than business that's purchased from advertising. Number one, the ROI is a hell of a lot better. But number two, the likelihood of actually closing whatever you're selling, whether you're selling a car, whether you're selling a microphone, a mortgage, or a house, the likelihood of closing is so much greater when there's a relationship. That makes a difference. We picked your company because you were looking to be entrepreneurial, you were creative, you had a great approach to pouring some gasoline on my real estate fire, looking at angles in terms of working with renters that I had never contemplated, working with sellers. Why on earth would a mortgage company be working with sellers? You had some great advice and ways that revenue could be generated focusing on sellers. And I love that creativeness that you bring to the table. Everything was outside the box. I'm not an in-the-box guy. Everything I do is out of the box. Mm-hmm. I don't live in boxes. I don't live much of anywhere, but I want to make sure that I surround myself with people that are super creative, talented, very focused on that people relationship. Sarah deserves a ton of credit for that. Obviously, your service is stellar. Clearly, your products are diverse, comprehensive, and well suited for my clients who buy homes. They need to borrow money from you, and your entire team is on board. You took me to the processing department, the underwriting department, the ops department. You introduced me to a heck of a lot of your LOs, speaking Spanish, speaking English, speaking other languages, and you razzled and dazzled us, and that's what made the difference. And yes, it was tough because everyone was courting us, everyone wanted our mortgage business, everyone wanted the relationship, and it was an exhausting process on my part. But I'm a long-term play guy. I'm not a here and now. I'm a long-term relationship guy, and I saw that in you and Jared and clearly Sarah. And to me, it was an obvious choice. You were the one to beat, and no one else beat you.
Well, we appreciate that. And, it's funny, I have to speak at a conference next month about how this partnership started and how we've been successful. And so I invited Sarah to come on stage with me. And, really the precipice for all of this for me was exactly that, it's all about the business development role and not having a loan officer approach a real estate agent. And because then it's I need you to send me a loan, and I only provide value back, either if it's financial in terms of investing in marketing dollars or things like that. And so I never really liked the way that relationship worked. And, when Sarah, Sarah and I have been friends well before we started doing business together, and I always knew she had a great personality and she'd be great at doing this type of work. And then COVID hit, and of course there was no offices and no real estate agents to go around, and so she took on a whole host of other roles. But one of the most important roles that she deserves all the credit for is setting and creating the culture that we have in our company, which is something I'm very proud of. Because when people come in here, they see, one of the biggest things, we have people that are coming in from Texas. We have branches in New Jersey, just different areas. And people come in and say, your people are happy. Like this isn't a happy time in the mortgage world. It just hasn't been. And but everybody's happy. And I'm like, well, we've really established a really great culture. And, here's our pillars, and, here's everything that our vision, and here's what we think. But Sarah deserves all the credit for that. And, a big part of it was getting rid of anybody that was cancerous in attitude. And I think that too many people are scared to do that. And you've really got to chop the head off the snake quickly, get rid of that, replace, and hire people who are bought in. And I think the faster you do that, the better it is. And again, it's part of what makes going to work super easy is you get to work alongside people you like, so.
I can attest to that. I mean, you guys have great friendships and relationships. In my own company, my typical tenure for my employee staff is 12 years.
It's awesome.
That's awesome.
I married 2 of my employees recently as the officiant of the wedding. I earned a job as the second officiant. I'm doing the second marriage for one of my other employees in August. They've all come to my kids' bar and bat mitzvahs and brisses when the boys were little, and birthday parties, and it's a family. And people think I'm full of it when I say it's a 1,000-person family. You're right. If someone's a cancer, get rid of them.
Yeah.
We take people out that are problems. We'll talk to you. We'll try to work with you, try to get you on the right track. I don't care how much money you bring. I don't care how much value you think you add to the company. If you're a cancer, you're out. You can't have it. You can't have it. You need people that are happy-go-lucky, productive, moving the ship forward, not sideways, left, right, and backwards.
Yeah.
So I couldn't agree with that more. I love the people that I work with, and I think that is evident in the relationships that we share with one another. And it's clear that our cultures between Choice Mortgage and Signature Real Estate Companies really align, and hence the marriage of Signature Choice Mortgage Group has been nothing but success, and I'm expecting 30 more years of it.
I can't wait.
It. Me too. Sarah, any parting shots before we go?
No, I think I'm good. Guys, thank you for all the compliments. I could sit here all day and listen to you guys talk great about me.
You deserve it. You deserve
Thank you.
Yes, well deserved, Sarah. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. Catch you next week and for our next episode. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me, Emmanuel and Sarah. It's been a wonderful experience, and looking forward to the future.
We loved having you.